Okay, I guess we are live now. Okay, here we start. On behalf of Times Passion Trails team here in Delhi, I welcome all of you. We have with us Mr. Rajesh Kalra, who is going to take this session and answer your questions and answers. So over to you, sir. Can you just talk about this trail for a couple of minutes and tell us what do participants have to expect?
Hi, welcome everybody, and thanks for joining the Times Passion Trails. As you are aware, I will be leading a trail from Manali to Leh this year. We will start from the 6th of September, and there'll be 8 days of riding, one rest day in between, and we are expected to get back to Delhi on the 17th. My idea for this hangout is to see what kind of interest people have. The interest has been phenomenal. In fact, I'm finding it very difficult to shortlist just 15 that we want to do. But during this hangout, what we will try and do is we will go through the kind of training that is needed and also answer any questions that some of you may have. If you're staying in a city which doesn't have mountains, it doesn't have real undulation, how do you train for a thing like that? What to watch out for? How much of an effort should be put into training and all those things? If you want, you could also ask about the kind of clothes that one has to wear and anything possible, anything that concerns you, and I will then start with some of the things which you must keep in mind. So I would like to make it very interactive, and I think there are a few people who have been shortlisted who would be asking the questions. If I think they have asked the relevant questions, then it's fine. Otherwise, I'll actually add some of the bits myself towards the end. I think I'm ready to take questions and take it from there. Thanks, Vishal.
Okay, so there's a Q&A app which I think everyone who has joined in can see on your screen, possibly on the right side. So just if you can just type in your questions, others can ask me here by show of hands. Rest of you can just type in your questions. So I'm just taking one question from this app. This is for Rajesh. I can't read the name of the person, but his question is how to prepare mentally for this trail. Rajesh.
How to prepare mentally? I think Manali to Leh is one of the, if it were to be rated as, when you do things, when we do trekking or climbing, we actually rate things as, and I think there are a few people who have been shortlisted who would be asking the questions. If I think they have asked the relevant questions, then it's fine. Otherwise, I'll actually add some of the bits myself towards the end. I can hear something. Will you please switch off whatever is running in your system there?
Yeah, it's been a bit of glitch though. Okay, continue.
Okay. Yes. So what happens is we normally classify things as easy and moderate and difficult and very difficult and strenuous. Strenuous is the highest category as far as level of difficulty is concerned for any extreme sport, be it trekking or climbing. Manali to Leh would actually be strenuous plus. It is easily one of the toughest rides you can do. And like anybody who's into extreme sports, you will know that being fit is extremely, extremely critical. But even more critical than just being fit is to be strong mentally. And if you are strong mentally, you can handle a lot of stresses and strains which come your way when you're doing something as tough as what Manali Leh trail offers. But it is doable. It's all here at the end of the day. If you are strong here, you can do it. Of course, you have to be fit to take on those hardships. Yeah, Vishal.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Rajesh. The next question is from Vardha. The question is, I'm an avid cyclist enthusiast from Chennai. Just a second. Yeah, how does one pace himself during the climb? And when would you recommend stand-up paddling?
Pacing is a very critical part of any ride when it doesn't involve short distance. It's not a sprint. And if you pace yourself well, you can actually achieve a lot more than you really think you would. Just to give you my example, yesterday I went and did some hill repeats in close to where I stay. Hill repeats meaning you get to the hill, get down, and start going up again. It's like, you know, those ski lifts. You take a ski lift to go up and come down. Ski lift to go up and come down. Here you have to basically ride up with great difficulty, and then you come down just you know, without pedaling if you wish to, and then go back again. What the same distance which I covered in about 1 hour 40 minutes yesterday took me 1 hour 50 minutes today. Initially, I thought I will not be able to do what I did yesterday because I needed some rest. I hadn't been able to rest properly, but then I paced myself. I certainly slowed down my pace. Said, okay, this is the pace. If I continue at the pace which is slightly slower than what was yesterday, I will manage it. Otherwise, I won't. So basically, the pace depends on what makes you feel comfortable. You know, it is something which, if you any of you are into long distance running, you know that you get into a pace, then you don't feel tired. You certainly are making good time, but you are not exerting yourself, and you just keep running at that pace for a very long time, and you can go on for a very long time. As far as when you stand up from your saddle and ride, there is no hard and fast rule for when you can stand from your saddle. For example, if you see people in the races, they will actually stand up on their saddle from their saddle and start pedaling hard, because at that time they're trying to get to a place very, very fast. But when I am just interested in moving from point A to point B and I don't have any time limitations, I would rather get into a lower gear and just keep going up gently without standing up on from the saddle and doing it, because it tires your legs far faster, and I don't want to do that when I have a very, very long distance at the highest road in the world. Yeah, Vishal?
Okay. All right. Thanks, Rajesh. So there's a second question. This is a bit on logistics. What this person wants to know, how the bicycles will be transported from Delhi to Manali. And if any one of the viewers watching, if they have some questions, then feel free to ask. It's in the Q&A app on the right-hand side of your screen. So just use that.
I think anybody who has registered is being told what is happening. What we are doing from Times Passion Trails is that we are giving people the option of taking their bikes from Delhi and bring them back to Delhi at the end of the trail. So you don't really have to worry about taking the bikes from here to Manali or from Leh to Delhi. I think these logistics, my other team should be able to answer, but I know what it is because we have worked on it. I think you will just have to deliver your bikes where they ask you to get to on the day of the day we meet in Delhi. And they would either take it from here in a truck or whatever, but you don't have to worry about it. Once you give it to them, the bike will be taken from here to Manali, and it will also be made available to you. Once you're done, they'll take it from you and bring it back to you in Delhi at the end of the race, at the end of the ride.
Okay.
So I think they'll either go in trucks or whatever. I have no idea, but that is the way it will be. You don't have to worry. It will be taken very safely.
All right. Thanks, Rajesh. There's another question from Santosh Shanbar. He wants to know what is the average distance we cover and the approximate inclination or the average altitude we cover in each trip. It's from Santosh.
Santosh, what I would ask you to do is go to my blog, which I did when I did this ride last year. I did it in August last year, and it has not even been a year so far. See, you have to understand it is the highest long distance road in the world. So Manali is about 7,000 feet, and when you get down to Leh, you are at 11,500 feet. But it is, you know, when you as you would know, whenever you are climbing up, it's never that you just go from 7,000 to 11,000 feet. You will keep going up, you know, then coming down to a place. So, for example, first day you will go from 7,000 to 11,000 feet, 11,500 feet, which is to Madhi. Second day you will climb up to Tandi. Not Tandi, sorry, Rohtang, which is 13,500 feet, but then go down all the way to Kilong, Tandi, which is far lower than Madhi is. So you look at it like this: you cross 5 passes on the way. Between Madhi and Kilong, there is Rohtang, which is of course a very popular pass among tourists. And then when you go on further, you will cross, when you go from Patsir to Sarchu, you will cross Bharalachala, which is at 16,000 plus. And of course, that day when you go from Sarshu to Pang, let me tell everybody that is going to be the toughest day of all. It is not the day when you climb Tanglangla, which is the highest, but the day when you do Sarshu to Pang is also the longest and the toughest. It's 80 kilometers plus, and that is the day when your fitness and your mental toughness comes into play together. That day you cross two passes, both of them over 16,000 feet. First is a pass called Nakila, and once you think Nakila is over, it's easy. No, you have to go down again about a few thousand feet. Then you climb up again to Lachulungla, which is even higher than Nakila. And of course, before Nakila are those very, very famous hairpin bends called Gata loops. So please prepare yourself for sustained uphills for long duration. So which is why I keep telling people, when you have to train yourself, 2-3 things you must keep in mind. Get into the habit of sitting on your saddle for a very, very long time, and keep pushing. In fact, what you should do is, if you are shortlisted for this ride, is that you should be in a position to ride 50 to 60 kilometers non-stop without putting your foot down, on not just plains but on undulating terrain around wherever you are. Thanks.
Okay, so I see a couple of users have just joined me. Shreyas, do you have a question here?
Yes.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Hi, Rajesh. Shreyas.
Hi.
Yeah.
So, Vishal, can you make this person's image larger on the screen so that I know who it is? I can see so many here.
Well, it is larger right now. I'm not sure why
Okay.
you're not able to see
Is the person who's talking, can he do this in front of his face so that I know who it is, please? Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is the physical endurance? As you said, 50 to 60 kilometers non-stop. So, what is the mental level or the stress level which we see over there at that moment of time? Because I've done around 110 kilometers in 6 to 7 hours. So that was like excruciatingly painful in the second half, actually. First 50 kilometers you will be good, but after 50 kilometers the pain starts creeping in from all the way of your body. So what is the stress level which I need to maintain over there, or the endurance level I need to train up
Just
for?
tell me one thing. Where is it that you train normally?
I go towards hilly regions in near Bangalore.
Okay, you are talking about Nandi Hills and all those areas.
Right.
See, what happens is 100 kilometers is a very good distance to cover. But and 100 kilometers in 7 hours actually is, to be honest, it's not very fast. It's quite slow.
True.
So one of the things you could try is pace yourself better. You are saying you feel absolutely good the first 50 meters and then you start feeling tired. So 2-3 things here. One is probably you are not hydrated enough. You don't take enough salts or things like Nimbu Pani and Gatorade and all those things while you are riding, so that you are so that you are in a position to sustain the effort levels required to do 100 kilometers. And you also please bear in mind that 100 kilometers that you do in plains is almost equivalent to doing about 40 kilometers on the altitude where you will be, or maybe even less. And which is why your mental makeup becomes very handy. One of the ways I tell myself everything is that I do 100 kilometers in 4.5 hours, and there I have to do 50 kilometers or 60 kilometers in a day, and I have a full day to do it. So I'm okay.
Okay.
So for example, when I did my Manali Leh last year, on the last day when we started from this lake called Sokar, our plan was to go up to Tanglangla, which is the highest point of the ride, and get down to Rumse and then decide whether we want to go ahead or not. But when we stopped in Rumse for breakfast, it was 12 o'clock. And I realized that when we are practicing back home on a weekend, there are times when we are riding till 3:34 in the afternoon. Let me go on, see what happens till then. In any case, most of it is downhill. So we actually went on all the way to Leh and didn't take a break then. So again, it is, as I said, very, very often it's a mental game which you are playing rather than just the physical endurance that you must have. Does that answer your question?
Okay.
Yes, and what is the intake of fluids which on the ride you need to keep on looking after it? How much
See,
water contains?
what I do is, I keep enough water with me. Supposing I have a liter bottle with me, I don't carry a bottle. Actually, I carry my backpack with the hydration bag, which can vary between 3 liters and 1.5 liters. I normally fill just if there is support vehicle around. I don't want to load myself with too much of weight unnecessarily. So I
Okay.
will put in half a liter of water in my backpack and keep riding. And every once in a while, I'll just take a few sips, because what happens is at that altitude, you don't feel thirsty because it's so cold that you say, why do I need water? But you need to hydrate yourself regularly because you cramp up very easily otherwise. One of the ways of checking that is whenever you go and pass urine, if the urine is yellow in color, means you are dehydrated. So always try and drink enough water that your urine is always transparent, colorless.
Okay.
Okay.
And what about,
Thank.
yeah, sorry, the last question. What about the
Yeah.
salts you mentioned over there? What kind of salts? So do you mean to say direct salt or mixing the
No, not
salt in the
direct
water?
salt. No, no, you should normally mix it with water because it gets absorbed much faster normally. So, I like using just ORS and water, salt, and some lime. But a lot of people like Gatorade, and a lot of people also have those energy gels and bars. I keep them only for emergency, but I don't like using them much. I like to go with whatever I feel comfortable with. I generally like Nibu Pani and salt and some sugar added to it. ORS is fine, but it tastes horrible.
Okay.
Gatorade, a lot of
Okay.
people like a lot. I also use Gatorade at times, but I think it had to do with an MTB Himachal ride, which I did a few years back when they were giving us Gatorade every 2 kilometers. And I don't think even the thought of it makes me feel pukey, but a lot of people like it. So it's not something that you should disregard. If you have Gatorade, please have it.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shreyas, for your questions. Rajesh, so we have another question from the app, from the
Mm-hmm.
Q&A. So,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm just selecting it.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. So this one is, since the trail is quite high altitude, so
Mm-hmm.
so we need to prepare extra due to lower amount of oxygen. Can you tell us how to prepare? This is from Suchi
See,
Sharma.
Suchi, what happens is acclimatization is critical for any human being. If I had lived all my life in Leh and came to Delhi for 10 days, if I get back to Leh, I have to acclimatize. If I come from a higher to a lower altitude, it's fine. But when I go from a lower to a high altitude, you always need to acclimatize. Body starts looking at acclimatizing 3,000 feet up and above. So a person from Bangalore is already doing much better than a person like me in Delhi or Pune. So which is why what we are doing is we are taking things. I'm not doing it the way I did it. When I did my thing, I did it in 6 days. This time we are taking it in 8 days of riding and one rest day in between at Keelong. The whole idea is that there'll be more people than what we were last time. So we should be in a position to acclimatize better, which is why the first day we will go up to 11,000 feet at Muddy. The second day we'll cross 30,000 feet and then go down to Keelong and then stay there for an extra day just to rest. Other thing which any of you who has been into climbing would know, that you always reach higher and sleep lower. So what happens is, supposing you're going from Manali to Muddy, which is 11,000 feet, you get to Muddy, that is your place to rest for the evening, but you don't stay there. Just don't go to 11,000 feet and go back, go off to sleep there. The attempt should always be to go up, slightly higher, spend some time at that higher altitude, so that the body gets used to the higher altitude, and then you come down and rest at the lower altitude, which is 11,000 feet. So if you read the blog which I wrote last year, I had a big problem with my bike in Muddy, and after that we went almost 2,000 feet higher than where we were and came back to rest in Muddy. So as I said, if you do things sanely, you will never have a problem.
Okay, thanks, Rajesh. There's another question, bit technical one this time. So again, this is again from Suchi Sharma. What she
Mm.
wants to know is specification of the type of bikes you recommend and the gear to go with along it.
See, one thing, it has to be a mountain terrain bike, but because and you know, I could actually have said that you can even have a hybrid because it is a national highway at the end of the day, but because of the harsh terrain which is there and the way the road gets damaged so easily with a snowfall or a sudden gush of water from some side, an MTB with thicker tires definitely helps because it gets you better traction than what other bikes or even a hybrid would. As far as gear is concerned, it often depends on how comfortable you are. You know, nobody can tell you that when you go from point A to point B, use the gear ratio which is 3:7 or 1:3 or whatever. No, never, no. I don't think anything can work like that. It is always the kind of gear which makes you feel comfortable riding. And when I say comfortable riding, there has to be a bit of effort put in for sure, but it should not be the kind of effort where you start feeling as if you are building what your lactic acid built up in your thighs and legs. That is when you start losing it. So make sure that the gears you are in are the kind of gears where you feel comfortable and you know that you can sustain the effort for a long duration with that.
Okay, all right. So I can see a couple of more people have joined me. Gautam, Rahul, and Shubho. So guys, and
Mhm.
Amit as well. So guys, if you have any questions, just give me show of your hands, and I can just put you on the stage. Okay, Rahul, go ahead.
Hi Rajesh and hi Sumit. So basically now, even though while cycling, I seem to have great stamina while going on level terrain. I mean off-road but level. But I still
Mhm.
haven't been able to bring myself to comfort on steep terrain. I've been practicing quite a lot, but I don't know if there's something else I need to do to get better stamina, or should I increase my calf muscle strength with some exercise?
See, two, three things. One is, I tell this to all the people in my group whenever we ride that irrespective of what time you have to start early in the morning, please do some normal basic stretching and all those exercises before you get onto the saddle because it is something which helps you a lot later. Other thing is, I talked about something called pacing right at the beginning. You know, anybody who you speak to who does gradients, high gradients, they will tell you that, you know, obviously you can stand on your get up from your saddle and do whatever, but there are times when the gradient is so high that you just want to sit and keep pedaling and take it up. So means if you get your, as I said, it's not a race. Do it in a way. What happens is whenever you are trying to get onto a very long uphill, if you don't pace yourself properly, you start getting two things. One, your heartbeat builds up to an extent where you think you can't handle it anymore, or you start building, you know, there is lactic acid built up in your legs. Both of them can be avoided. As I said, get into the right kind of rhythm and pace yourself so that you don't feel tired when you do it. And the other thing is, if you're finding yourself absolutely fine when doing planes and you start getting tired very easily whenever you're trying to do an uphill, you obviously need to build on your endurance as well. You are okay, but you're not good enough to do what you are saying because you shouldn't get tired that easily. And as I said, make sure that you pace yourself properly. It's not a race. Get into a pace which is very good. For example, where we ride, there are certain trails where you have almost 700, 800 meters trails with gradient between 8 and 18, 19%. One look at it and the heart says and the mind says it can't be done. But if you pace yourself well, there are times when we just keep going. It may take longer, but we just finish it. You know, as I said, two, three things. Pace yourself properly and tell yourself mentally that yeah, I can do it. But don't do it to an extent where you think your heartbeat is going far to, you know, it should be normal in the sense, you know, it will go slightly higher, but don't overdo it. Keep practicing, that's all.
Actually, Rajesh, do I go ahead?
Yeah, I can,
Yeah,
go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. Please, go ahead.
The problem I face, I don't seem to face much problem with my heartbeat, but I see
Mhm.
that lactic acid developing in my calf muscles only. So what I
So
usually
if you are
do is,
getting if you are getting the lactic acid built up, meaning you are pushing yourself too hard to do that. Lactic
huh,
acid builds up when your legs don't have the strength remaining, but you still keep going, like this. No, it doesn't work. Get into a lower gear if you can, or stop.
yes, I reduce the gear, but I always keep the consistent pace for all terrains, uphill, downhill, plain terrain. I always maintain that consistent pace of
See,
pedaling.
let me show you something. Let me show you something from my ride this morning. Okay, just a second.
Okay.
You can't have the same pace when you are climbing up and it's a big gradient, and when you're going down, it has to be different.
Okay, I guess that's what I do wrong because I try to
Let me
lower
see.
the gear.
Let me show you something from this morning. Can you see this clearly? Can you see?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
clear.
So
yeah.
this one, what you see is actually the gradient. So I did something called hill repeats this morning. So what I would do is I would get to the top of the hill and come down. Now look at this. This is the speed. So it is inverse of the gradient that I'm doing. Now it is
Right.
impossible for me to go up, go down at 30 kilometers or 40 kilometers an hour and go up at 30 kilometers again. It can't be. I could be as low as 10 or 12 kilometers at that time.
No, I think you got it wrong. When I said pace, I meant the pace of pedaling. So definitely the speed does come.
The pace of pedaling would, again, as I said, if you get into a lower gear, a lot of people make this mistake. You are coming very fast and you lower the gear. Supposing you are moving at, 3 and 8, and then suddenly
Mhm.
you get onto a very, very steep uphill and you go and one on one. So what happens is at that time, you don't have to start doing like this. You just keep doing at the normal place so that you maintain your balance. That's all. But you'll keep going up. It's not a race. There is no rush to get to some place. And you will certainly realize as soon as the legs start accepting the pace at which you're doing, you will not have lactic acid build up. And I'm telling you this very seriously, whether you go on this ride or not.
Okay.
Building lactic acid, if you get the lactic acid built up in your legs, it's just not on, because you will take such a long time to recover. Your whole body starts shaking because of that pain. You shouldn't get into it at all. Just lower the gear and then pace yourself. You don't have to keep pedaling very hard. It doesn't mean when you get into a low gear, it doesn't mean you keep doing this. You can keep doing this. You'll keep going
Okay.
up. What was taking you 5 minutes earlier may take 20 minutes now, but take those 20 minutes. Don't try and do it in 5 minutes when your legs can't handle it.
All right.
Right? Thanks.
Okay. Rahul, I think that answers your question.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so I can see a couple of more users have joined us. Prabhanch, Shubho, Shreyas, and Samir. So guys, if you have any question, just by show of your hand, and I can just put you on screen.
We can take a question from the.
Okay, I think Prabhanch has a question.
Where are you from, Prabhansh?
Just a second, I think there's an audio thing. Yeah, Prabhanch, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Rajesh, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hi.
Sir, I have never tried this cycle mountaineering and all. But what I have been doing is this basketball playing for my college for a lot of years. Like,
Where are you from, Prabhansh?
I'm from Kerala, sir. I'm
Okay.
studying NIT Calicut.
Okay.
So I have been playing for university for last 4 years.
Hmm.
So I would just want to know whether I'll be able to pull off this mountain racing, like climbing, cycling, and all with this. Whatever I have earned that stamina and endurance with playing basketball, that be like, advocate for this.
See, let me two things here, Prabhansh. If you have been playing basketball, basketball is one of the most tiring sports around. I understand, because it is something which I used to love to play when I was younger.
Yes, sir.
But that means you already have the fitness levels. But believe me, if you have not done long distance cycling, this is not the trail on which you can you can start your cycling exploits at. It is just not on. You should give it a time, give it enough time, practice some cycling. As I said, as far as endurance is concerned, I'm sure you can do it, because you
Yes, sir.
already play a lot of basketball and you play for your college and university. But
Yes, sir.
this is absolutely extreme cycling, and cycling requires a completely different set of muscles.
Yes, sir.
See, you will
So
have endurance in the sense your heart can take it and all those things, but the muscles required for cycling vary, and the muscles required for cycling vary depending on whether you sit up on the saddle, you stand up from the saddle, when you are using, it also depends on where you keep your saddle, whether it's your posture is right or wrong, whether you use clips, you don't use clips, all those things come into play. And a person who has only been riding road bikes finds it very difficult or different from whatever a person who only rides mountain bikes does.
off-road, yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
anything
sir.
else?
Yeah, so the thing is that it's not like I'm not used to cycle riding, but I never used to off-road cycle riding. That's what you're talking about, like, right, sir?
There is very little off-road in this. Actually, it's a national highway. If there is no rains and everything is fine, there is no problem. But it is never like that, because rains would happen. So there are a lot of places it feels like trails, especially when you go from Sarchu to Pang, the downhill after Lachulungla is it's as if you are riding on a moon surface.
Sir.
So some of the things, what happens is if you are cycling, then you know how to control the things better, whether you what time to brake, what line to take a turn. One mistake can throw you down 1,000 feet. So which is why I am saying, unless you have been practicing, you should not, you could be the fittest person in the world, but if you have started cycling only now or haven't started cycling, fitness alone is not enough to take you on this trail.
One more addition to what I was telling. So I have been cycling from my home to college. It's not too long. It's only 25 kilometers. So I ride 25 kilometers, and after practice, I ride back that cycle 25 kilometers back home.
How is the road?
Road, it's not that rough or anything like that, sir.
And what bike is it?
It's an AX and EX, Hercules XEX.
Okay. See, you should be used to descending and ascending on a bike to be able to do some of the some sections, unless you have done some serious even downhills are very. In fact, if you go and look at how the world operates, there often are people who are considered downhill experts. For example, Contador is considered a great climber and also a descender, but yesterday he had a fall. So, and as I said, there are certain stretches where if you do not know how to take the right line, what time to apply your brake, what time to take the right line, it can be very dangerous. If you have not done all that, I would recommend that practice a bit of that, and with your fitness levels, you should be able to make it there quite easily.
So where should I do that? All these practices? Like in Kerala, we can't see all these things. So is there any place where I can go from Kerala and practice all these things?
See, you can easily. Kerala has some hills. You just get onto those trails and start doing it. I live in Gurgaon. Gurgaon has no real hills except Aravalis, which are very close to it, and we have identified trails there. We keep going up and down. And the trails are good for giving us some control practice, but now that I am trying to get back into endurance, so I have stopped doing trails. As I was showing you a while back, we have a few uphills on a road which links Gurgaon to Faridabad, and you keep repeating those, keep going, up and down, up and down, up and down as much as possible.
Oh, thanks.
All right, thank you, Prakash. So Rajesh, there's another question that someone has just typed in. And the question goes something like this. What is the reason behind keeping 15 only participant, and why can't more people participate in the trail?
If the terrain and the kind of hostile environment which it is possible, it is possible you might encounter at times, if that wasn't the issue, I would have taken 2,000. But providing support to so many people is not easy. You have to have a support vehicle with you. You have to understand it is not a place where if something happens, you pick up the phone and call somebody and an ambulance will come screaming in and take you away. It is absolutely remote. The roads are built so that the army could, move its equipment and all very quickly, and also because some of the people who stay there, 24, all the time, so they have to be provided some connectivity. Even they don't have connectivity all the time. For example, 8 months in a year, these roads are shut, and it can't be done otherwise.
Okay, all right. So before I take another question for all of the guys who have just joined me here, if you want to have if you have a question for Rajesh, then by just show of your hands, you can just let me know and I can just put you on screen. So here's another question from Chandan Uppal. So Rajesh, he wants to know what is the average ride speed on the terrain, and typically how much of the distance gets covered in say X number of hours.
No, see, it's very difficult to say. If the first day when I'm going from Manali to Madi, it's completely uphill. So I could be doing those 30 kilometers in 4 hours.
Right.
You know, because
So
on planes I can see Shubho sitting here. Shubho, raise your hands. Yeah, Shubho sitting here. He does a lot of road rides also. So 30 kilometers otherwise is just about a 50-minute, 45 minutes thing for him. But when you're going up, there is no respite. You just keep going up. And what happens is it also if you look at the blog which I did, I also put a blogs link at the end of it, which got all the GPS records from last year, my ride.
Right.
As I said, I'm not racing there because the altitude is very, very high. It is not a place where I have gone to prove myself to anyone. I just want to make sure I make it from point A to point B as was planned, and I will not do anything silly to jeopardize that plan that I have. And it's not a place for bravado. Any nonsense you do will hit you. You will not become a hero. If you go to Ladakh, they have this slogan written at all places: "Don't be a Gama in the land of llamas."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Shubho. Hello. Yeah, is this Shubho? Okay, so I think we are done with this question. I'm just trying to take another question. For any of the guys who have joined me, just by show of your hands, you can let me know. Okay, this is a bit technical again. What is the level of bike maintenance does one need to know? And how do we prep for that?
I always tell people there will be support on this trip. There will be a mechanic who will be accompanying us, who will know the ins and outs of the bike. But if there are 15 people and he's caught somewhere else and your bike is caught somewhere else, for him to come and set it right, it always helps to know the basic maintenance yourself. Always helps. And what will this basic maintenance be? You should know how to, if there is a puncture, how to set it right, how to change your tube. If something happens, if the brake pad is loose, how to tighten that brake pad. Anything which is basic, you should be able to do it yourself. It will save you a lot of time. And the other thing is, we will make sure that the mechanic looks at your bikes before you start off every day, if there is time, that is. But please understand that at the end of the day, he'll be doing a job, but you have to ride your bike. So you should definitely take a look at almost every joint that you have and everything that you do, so that you should know what is happening to your bike. In fact, if you ride your bike regularly and you're riding it and something happens, believe me, if you are riding your bike regularly, you will know that there is something wrong somewhere. Some things will tell you immediately that this brake is too tight. I'm not getting the sort of movement that I was. Lube it properly. Make sure every joint is properly tightened before you start off. Make sure it has the right kind of pressure. If it's too low a pressure, you are struggling. If it is too high, again, and it's a bad road, you are struggling. So all these things you have to keep in mind. But what I would suggest is get a good mechanic to look at your bikes. And how he does it, you should be able to tell him that, okay, let me do it. You tell me what is to be done, I will do it. Watching is definitely, you learn something, but when you do it yourself is when you actually know how it is done. A simple thing like when you have a quick release tire on the rear wheel, there are so many people who have seen it being done hundreds of times, but ask them to do it themselves, they do not know how to take the wheel out. It's a 10-second job, but you have to know what is to be done. Know all these things, it will help you. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Rajesh. There is another one from Anand. He wants to know what sort of bike would you recommend?
I said this right in the beginning. Why should we
Yeah.
repeat this? Let's take answers from questions from a lot of other people who are there. It has to be a
Okay.
mountain terrain bike. As I said, a hybrid will work, but there are certain places where the road is so poor that a hybrid
Hmm.
probably will not give you the traction, especially if you are on an uphill.
Right.
Even downhill, you will not get the traction. Control would be tough. You could skid.
Okay. So any one of the guys who have joined me here, Shubho, Shreyas, Sami, Rajesh, Rahul, and Gautam, if you have any question, just by show of your hands, you can let me know, and I can put you on screen. Okay, I think Shreyas has raised hand, so let me.
Shreyas did ask a question earlier, no?
Yeah, this is a
Yeah, he
new
did.
question.
He did.
Hmm.
So just
Yeah, you can
one
ask.
question for you, Shreyas.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Rajesh, one more thing I just want to check. Its suspension is you have two or three kind of suspensions where it's a lockout is there and there is no lockout. So
Hmm.
which would be better? It's with lockout or without lockout?
Yeah, with lockout is definitely better, but as I said, it is not that much of a trail where you really have to worry about it.
Okay.
These are not those real cross country trails where you are riding. This is a highway, except that it's a very very high altitude highway. So it is not really a problem on downhills, especially between Lachalungla and Pang. The downhill is very treacherous. At that time, if you have a rear suspension, a full suspension bike, it definitely helps. But last year, I was the only one who had a full suspension bike. Everybody else were on hard trails, and they managed quite well. As I said, if you are
Okay.
used to your bike, you can handle it. If you're not used to your bike, you have a problem. Which is what I told this friend of ours from Kerala, that just fitness alone is not enough if you have not been riding enough.
Right. Right. Thanks, Rajesh, and thanks, Shreyas. Rajesh, then another question from Sunil Bist. What he
Hmm.
wants to know, what sort of diet plan should he follow during practice sessions?
Yeah, people have a lot of different suggestions on what to eat, what not to eat. I think you just lead a normal life here. You don't do anything more than that. And the only precaution you have to take is when you are actually practicing. At that time, keep yourself hydrated. And when you are on the ride, when it is really, really high altitude, at that time you make sure that you also take enough nutrients like nuts and chocolates and other things which give you the instant energy that is required. Bananas are a good thing to have. Sunil Bish does ride with me quite often,
Right.
and he should know. You just keep yourself
Okay.
hydrated at all times. That's very very important.
Right. Right. Thanks, Rajesh. There's another question about will the medical help will be available? I guess you have already answered that.
Yeah, it will be
Will you
available.
please
There
support
will be
him
a
in this?
person. I think it is there already.
Hmm.
Vishal, I think Manas is
Hmm.
somewhere next to you. He could help you with that. I think
Hmm.
there is a doctor,
Hmm.
and the most interesting thing is the back end is being organized by somebody who we have handpicked, and every person in
Hmm.
the back end team would be trained in CPR, which is actually
Okay.
something very unique we are doing. Means any person who is involved in the support staff who will be with us would be a CPR trained guy. Means we will be in safe hands. Yeah, stopped. It stopped. खत्म खत्म हो गया. हम्म. कहाँ का नंबर क्या है 3610. हाँ who's there? कौन बोल रहे हैं? आप कौन बोल रहे हैं? हेलो.
I guess
Hello?
we are back. We are back now.
I think there was a
Yeah.
problem at your end, Vishal, is it?
Yeah,
Because I
there was
was
this.
connected.
Yeah, there was this technical error.
Okay, go ahead.
So I was just taking another question from here. Uh,
Why don't we ask people who are here to ask the questions first, no?
yeah.
Because we
So
can do.
any one of the guys who are here, so just by show of your hands, let me know if you have any questions. Shubho, you have been quiet. You have any question for us?
Okay, go ahead, ask, Vishal.
Okay. So one person wants to know, and this is a bit of emotional one. What is the reason behind keeping just 15 participants only?
I just responded to that. You
Okay, I
can't,
guess this
because it's a
this
very,
has
very
been
tough thing, and I can't provide
Hmm.
support to 1,000 people. 15 itself is going to be very tough,
right.
which is why we could do these things over a period, but in a single trek, a same person cannot handle more than 15 people
Hmm.
because the requirements and everything is different for each person.
Okay.
Anything more than 15 means
Hmm.
it may get tough. See, everything is fine when nobody has a problem, then you can have 200 people together. But
Right.
if 1 out of 15 have a problem, there is a problem. But if there are 10 out of 200 who have a problem, it's a big problem. It is logistics. Whether you can handle if in case there is a problem is what limits the size of people. What we might do is do these things more often, so that more batches of 15 or slightly more, if there are more than two experts per trip can go. Those are the kind of things which we may look at sometime. But as of
Okay.
now, I don't feel comfortable being responsible for more than 15 at a time.
Okay,
Is that
that's
fine?
quite fair, Rajesh. Yeah, that's quite fair.
Hmm.
There's a question just coming in from Ramesh Pandey, and what he wants to know, what is the criteria of selection that you are following for these 15 participants?
See, the criteria is very simple. Criteria is you should be very, very fit. And from whatever we have asked so far, all the questions that we have asked, a lot of people have responded. As soon as we shortlist those people, I'll ask them for the proof of those things, including photographs and all. As I said, Prabhansh or somebody, right? In the beginning, when I told him that if you could be the fittest person on this planet, but if you have not cycled before and you think you can start cycling tomorrow and get out of this ride, it's not on. We will definitely look at people who we think are in a position to handle the stress and their legs are used to cycling long distance.
Right.
And I will also see whether the person is mentally strong to take the stress which happens at that altitude. Anybody who is into high altitude climbing will tell you altitude does crazy things to you. You may think you're absolutely normal when you're there. You come back and think what all you did, and you realize what you were doing things which you will never do on planes. Lack of oxygen does amazing things to you. Even if you are completely acclimatized, you still do things which seem slightly strange or even funny when you come down and look at it later.
Okay. All right. So I think we are towards the last leg of this session. So Rajesh, do you want to spend a couple of minutes talking about? These participants are expected to go through a training week, couple of weeks of that. So what all requirements are there, and how should they prepare? I mean, how will you help them out? So if you can just tell us.
It's like this. As I said, over the next few days, we would have shortlisted. We have more than a few thousand applications.
Right.
And going through them itself is not easy. I think my brand team is helping me shortlist some of them. I have shortlisted some myself. So we'll bring down the number to a manageable 100 or something, and then we will go through all of them and ask most of the people who we think are in a position to do it. They will be asked to share some more details. I probably will have a one-on-one session with almost everybody who I think will be in the 15 who will shortlist. Okay. And then there is no real this thing. I have a 6-week plan for myself, which I will share with them once they are shortlisted. And I would expect that they will also follow that plan and be ready for it. As I said, we keep saying this: train like a slave, so that you can ride like a king later. All the pains that you can endure should be endured right here during your training period. Because here, if something happens, if I am riding in Gurgaon and something happens to me, I know Shubho sitting right there is just a phone call away, and he'll be there in 5 minutes and pick me up.
Okay.
I have no such luxuries there. So
True.
I have to be used to taking all the pains right now so that I can endure the harshness and everything else that the nature and elements throw at me there a lot better. And if I am trained better and my body is used to taking all that abuse much better, I am mentally stronger and mentally in a better position to take the or handle the situations better.
Right, right. So training is absolutely important in this case, and Rajesh just told us why. So I'm just trying to get some more questions here. So by show of hands, any one of you guys can let me know.
Nikhil is trying to get to us.
There is
one guy called Nikhil.
Can you show me?
He's not able to ask question. He's saying he can see us. How do we get him?
Okay, so
why don't you ask him to write the question and then we can answer?
Yeah, so Nikhil, I think there's someone called Nikhil is trying to get in touch with us. So I think there are no more questions coming in so far. So Rajesh, should we just wind this up? Any last words from your side?
No, I think it's as I said, I'm thank you very much for taking time off on a working day to sit in for this hangout. For me, it is part of the thing which I'm doing. For you, you have to actually take off from your work day. But I thought this was the right time to do it because most of the guys would be out Saturdays and Sundays. If somebody tries to get me at this time, I will not be available because I would be too tired from my cycle ride and I would be sleeping at this time. Which was one of the reasons when initially when they said we'll do it on a Saturday or Sunday at 3 p.m. I said no.
True. Well, thank you, Rajesh.
So there is, as I said, most of the things have been answered.
Yeah.
A lot of you also use things like, a Garmin device or your GPSs on your smartphones. It could be Map My Ride or Strava and Endomondo. If you use all of those things, you can actually start making clubs and see how you do. In fact, once you reach, a level which is more than what a normal person will have, at that time you will always be there. But when you start off, you will see a huge difference. There are people who come and say, I'm getting tired doing 20 kilometers an hour, and that same person after 1.5 months of sustained training and pushing himself a bit is doing 30 kilometers an hour. And if you're on a road bike, you could go up to 35-40 kilometers an hour quite easily. So you just have to keep training hard. There is absolutely no substitute for hard work while you're training, and that hard work pays you when you are on this trail. And this trail is, let me repeat once again, it's more than strenuous. It's very, very tough. But if you are trained and if your body is fit, you can take a lot of strain a lot better. And the elation at the end of completing something like this, standing to a sign which says you are on the second highest motorable point in the world, or it's a bragging right for a few people. I remember when I told people the first time that I had gone to Changla when I did Manali to Leh to Pangong. So they asked what altitude, and the immediate response was that is higher than what most of the small planes fly at. So you are cycling higher than what aeroplanes fly at. So all this is worth it, but you have to practice hard for it. There is no substitute for that. You can't just say, okay, I'm ready for it, tomorrow I'm going. No, you can't stand up and say that. A lot of hard work has to be put in, which is why this was the first trail we were doing as part of Times Passion Trails. And once we shortlist the 15 people, we are giving 6 clear weeks for people to train. And you can't start training from day one. I am expecting that the 15 that we shortlist will be those who are already at a particular level of fitness, and they will then take 6 weeks to get to a level where I think they are good enough to go and do this right. You can't start practicing 6 weeks from the date and say I'm ready. I expect that the person who will be shortlisted will already be at a level that I can say he has the raw material to be ready in 6 weeks.
All right. Thank you, Rajesh, for such an insightful session. And as Rajesh just said, there's no substitute for hard work. So thank you, everyone who joined. So video of this session will be available later on our YouTube channel.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Shubha.
And see you all soon.
And in case you still have any more questions, just reach out to us on our Facebook page or Twitter. or just email to us at info@timespassiontrails.com. So thank you everyone and goodbye. Thanks, Rajesh.
Thanks so much. Bye, guys. All the best.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.